Wow, what a colossal sized pain in the ass that was. Wow. Finally, that was a huge pain in the ass. Yeah, Windows downloaded this huge update the other day, and it set, it took me a while to figure out what happened, but it set all of my OBS settings back to default, which meant that meant that OBS was not recognizing my interface as the input for my microphone. So, yeah, so. But I got to figure it out. Yeah, I am stressed out because it was. There's no worse time to discover that is a problem other than, right after I hit the go live button and there's a room with 15, 20 people in there already waiting for me. So yeah, that was unfun. But I got to figure it out now. So. Hey, yeah, it's been a eventful weekend already. Somebody got butthurt about my Fuzz Factory video, and decided to share it in Pedal Boards of Doom on Facebook. Which is like the biggest pedal group there is on Facebook, and and sick the Pedal Boards of Doom army on me. So, I've been getting trolled and reminded about about why so many people hate me because of that video, as well as reminded about every other mistake that I've ever made and every other video I've ever made on YouTube. Yeah, that was fun. So, you guys can hear me now. Okay, right? Yay, nay, yes, no, maybe so. Okay, well, you get Rondo Bondo seems to be okay. Fuzz, all right, you guys know what I'm talking about. So okay, so you can hear me. Cool. I'm sick of dealing with trolls, man. In this case, it wasn't trolls. It was a bunch of, Fuzz Factory fanboys that just don't understand that that it's actually possible for people to not like the same gear that and the same guitar tones that they like. So, oh boy, yeah. So I don't know how many people may have given up on me while I was messing with my technical difficulties here earlier. If you did give up on me and you happen to catch this replay later on, I apologize. It's certainly, I didn't plan for that to happen, for definitely. So this one, blame Microsoft. Yeah, Serenity Guitar says you finally made the move to Indiana, did you? Well, welcome to Indiana, dude. The weather's a lot shittier here than it was where you came from. Music Zep Kid says the Boss Octave 5, the OC5, any good? I have not tried it yet. I can only imagine that it is. So if you like octave pedals, pardon me. If you like octave pedals, and you like the OC3. I mean, Boss's technology's come a long way in the last several years. So, they've always kind of been on the forefront of, of guitar effects technology anyway, but they, here recently, just like in the last 5 years, I mean, I've been blown away with some of the stuff that they've come out with. And I love Boss pedals anyway, so I'm not a big Octa fan, but I really want an OC5 just because I want to, I don't know, I just want to see what I would do with it. It probably wouldn't be something I would use all the time, but from what I understand, people I do know that have had a chance to check it out, they seem to love it. It's pretty cool. Let's see. John Garton II says hello from Kentucky. DD Paranormal at F Sharp says hello from Boston. What's up, guys? Kentucky, Boston. Spending near Greensburg. That's where the Honda plant is, right? Way out 74, I think. You're like southeast of Indianapolis. And John McDonough has joined the soiree from the other side of the pond over in London. Welcome to you, sir. John Garton II says, what's the best clone of a Klon? Oh, man, that's a really, really open-ended question, and you're going to get a zillion different answers depending on who you ask. I like the Electro-Harmonix Soul Food real well myself. I really like the Soul Food. The Wampler Tumnus is really popular. I like that one quite a bit too. But I would have to buy two of them just so I could say that I have two Tumni, not Tumnuses, but Tumni. So the Wampler Tumnus is popular. The what's that other one? I can't recall. There's the Tumnus. There's the what's the Arrow? I think it's I can't even think of the name of that company now. Jet Pedals or J. They've got something with a Centaur arrow shooting dude on the front of it that I think is a clone. But bottom line, there's a bunch of them out there. Park Kingery made me a fantastic clone last year. That's not one of his regular production models, but it's there's a ton of them out there. There's a ton of them out there, and most of them I found to be be pretty close. The Klon circuit is actually one of the simplest overdrive circuits out there. So, speaking of Park Kingery, he says he's moving back to Indiana next week. Good for you, dude. Welcome home. Christopher Spearn says trolls are fine until they aren't. Generally, I can give no mind, but admit one slick will come across my comment and smooth up into the conversation just to bait someone in. Yeah, you got plenty of those people out there, and you got quite honestly people with too much time on their hands, and I've let them get to me before, and I've taken my trolling the trolls a little too far. In the past. That's why I haven't done a Know Your Troll video lately. But, yeah, it's pretty easy to let them get to you. So, especially if you're somebody like me, who's fairly introverted. Music Zep Kid says, what happened to Mustaine's voice? He had cancer, dude. I think he had cancer. I don't think I know he had cancer here recently. My understanding is it was, they were able to get it squared away. And he's pretty well recovered now, from what I understand. I think he's always, or not always, but I think he's back to playing live shows. Where he can. It's hard for anybody to play live shows right now, but. But yeah, he had a I don't know if it was throat cancer or mouth or tongue or something like that. I can't remember. But I think they caught it soon enough that he's pretty much in remission. It's my understanding anyway. Let's see, Rondo Bondo from Illinois, Paul Adamek from Michigan, Ryan 13 from New Jersey, Christopher Spearin from Maine. Edgar Forster, Kelowna, BC, formerly Buffalo, New York. Buffalo, New York, the second smallest market in the NFL. 5 points to anybody who answers in the Super Chat what the smallest market in the NFL is. My knees hurt, says, what's for lunch? I don't know yet. To be honest, I'm going to hang out with you guys here for a couple hours like I always do on Saturdays, and then I've got to go. I got to go out and run some errands. I got to go to the UPS store because I got to go to the UPS store because a pedal that I demoed here a couple weeks ago that I knew I was never going to use again, I put up for sale. Somebody bought it, so I got to ship it out. And then I got to go stop by the post office, and I got to go stop by a couple other places, and I'll probably stop and grab something to eat while I'm out before I come home. Though I have not yet decided where that's going to be. Let's see. My knees hurt from Canada. J-Rocket Archer, thank you. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, that one that is another clone I know is real popular. So, my knees hurts. Clone sound does nothing for me. I actually like it because it's I guess what I like about that particular style of overdrive is it's just flat. It's just overdrive. There's no, at its base anyway. There's no EQ. There's no EQ changes to it too much, like a Tube Screamer, where you get that massive mid hump right there in it was the 400K frequency or whatever. I can't remember what the frequency is, but it's the Tube Screamers are known to have that real nasty mid hump in it. That some people like it and some people don't. So. And I don't in a lot of situations I don't mind that the Tube Screamer. I don't mind that characteristic from the Tube Screamer circuits, but I don't want it all the time. The Blues Drivers are still my favorites, but Blues Drivers and the OCDs. Although I pulled down that the X Gear Crush Overdrive. I demoed that pedal on my channel a couple of months ago, and I pulled it back out for a video that I recorded this weekend, and that thing's still pretty badass too. That's a killer pedal. Travis D says, I ended up checking out a Bad Monkey Overdrive after your demo, and I like it a lot so far. That's that's maybe the best Ibanez, or the best Tube Screamer circuit that doesn't say Ibanez on it that's on the market today, at least in my opinion. One of them, anyway. There's a lot of them that I like. I like that one. I really, really like the high wind amplification Direwolf Overdrive. That thing's kick-ass too. So it's probably my favorite overdrive. My favorite Tube Screamer circuit is probably one of those two. But the Digitech Bad Monkey, I don't really want to call it a sleeper anymore because everybody's kind of started to rediscover that thing in the last few years, and values on those things are starting to go up a little bit. Let's see. Rondo Bondo says mostly audio. I think you're talking about the Mosky Audio Golden Horse. You know, the Moss. I think aren't they the ones. I think they've got two of them. They've got a Golden Horse and a Silver Horse. Those things are dirt cheap too. They're like $25 on Amazon or something. And I have heard numerous people say that those are really, really good pedals. Music Zip Kit says, "Do you like Kirk Hammett?" I am the world's biggest diehard Metallica fan on this planet, and yes, I happen to love Kirk Hammett. James Hetfield's my favorite guitar player, but you know, if I could, you know, if I could be as good as Kirk, I have no idea why he gets the hate that he does. That's never made any sense to me whatsoever, and that didn't really even start for him until probably about 10 years ago. You know, because beyond that, all through, I never heard one person say anything negative about him through the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. And then all of a sudden, you know, the internet happened, 10, 12 years ago. And, and Kirk Hammett's a shitty guitar player, which is absolutely ridiculous. You know, I can't play most of what he can play. So, yeah, no, I'm a Kirk Hammett fan. Christopher Spearman says, "Sad with all the real problems in our world, the trolls have time to waste being a troll." There's a lot of people with a lot of time on their hands, man. There's a lot of people with a lot of time on their hands. I troll back on trolls, but I don't, if I watch a video on YouTube and I don't like it, or there's something about it I don't like it, I just, I X out of the video and go watch something else. I don't spend my time commenting about every little, nuance that I see. And yeah, Serenity Guitar says, "Best guitar shop." If you're talking about here in Indiana, guitar shops are scarce, man. Let's see. There's Arthur's Music Store down in, I think they're in Beech Grove, down on the east side, lower east side of Indianapolis. They've been there for a long time. That was the shop, actually, that found the guitar that is now Joe Bonamassa's, his original, his 58 Flying V. There's some history behind that guitar. I don't recall the story offhand, but anyway, Joe Bonamassa ended up buying it, and they're the store that found it. So there's Arthur's down there. I think IRC closed, unfortunately. So there's a guitar center. There's a couple of guitar centers. There's a Sam Ash on the north side. There's a Music Go Round right by both of those, right by the guitar center. Right across the street from the Guitar Center on the north side. Reno's Music and Fisher's. They don't have a whole lot of stuff in store. They got some used guitar. I haven't been in there in a long time, but they've got some used stuff every now and then. But they do most of their business selling online. As they do carry a lot of like high end custom shop Jacksons and Charvels and stuff like that. But they sell most of those online. They don't even display them in the store. At least they didn't last time I was in there. Boy, let's see. That's really about all I can think of. The next, drive an hour and a half down to Cincinnati, go to Mike's Music. Mike's Music is real cool. Drive an hour and a half north up to Sweetwater at Fort Wayne. There's a I think it's Mom's Music or something like that down in Louisville. It's about the same distance as Cincinnati. What is going on here? Oh, yeah. So, the Chicago Music Exchange, which is, that's a 3-hour drive. But here locally, man, that's they've pretty much dried up. A lot of them have dried up. Let's see where Mike St. Croix says about the Nukes. I hate that brand name because nobody knows how the hell to pronounce it. But he says about the Horseman, which is their clone after watching Guitar Max's demo. Yeah, Max can snap off a tree branch and string it up and make it sound good. I've watched a lot of that guy's videos lately, and he and I've emailed back and forth a couple of times too, and he's a great guy, really great guy. But I really like his videos, and he's a great guitar player. But yeah, he's kind of like me. He likes to demo. He likes to find the best bang for your buck. He's not necessarily out to demo the latest and greatest $3,000 Gibson Fender custom shop whatever. Mike St. Croix got the NFL question correct with Green Bay, but unfortunately it wasn't in the super chat. Edgar Forster, Seahawks closer now. My niece heard Browns. No, Cleveland is not the smallest market in the NFL. Green Bay, Wisconsin. I think there's only about 50,000 people live in Green Bay. And then you can't include all the surrounding areas, that are in that market. You probably get up to 80 or 100,000. My niece hurt says, I don't do team sports. I haven't watched a ball game in years. That breaks that would hurt my heart, man. One thing I have always, especially as I get older, but I always enjoy watching sports. And I don't watch a ton. I follow the NFL religiously. I do watch the PGA. I like watching golf. Particularly in the summertime when there's no football on. And, I like watching baseball, but me being, I spent my childhood growing up in Houston, so I've been a lifelong Astros fan, which they never show Astros games up here in my market, and then they got caught that whole cheating scandal, a year or so ago, and that pissed me off, and so I kind of boycotted them this past year, and even when they were in the playoffs, I didn't watch them because I was so disappointed in that, but no, I like sports, man. That's a good way for me, because so much of my life is centered around guitars and music, and it's what that's what I do for my full-time job. That's I sell the stuff for a living, and then I got this YouTube channel that takes up a lot of my time. So you add in all my other life responsibilities in there, and watching sports on Sundays is a real good way for me to just tune in and tune out and not have anything to do with the music industry. Rondo Bondo says, "What's your favorite pickups?" Seymour Duncan JB and the Jazz model setup, or what Duncan sells them. They call it the hot rodded humbucker set, which is a hot rod pickups. I think a hot rodded humbucker set. That's always been my favorite set pickups. I've had that in numerous guitars, and pardon me. They've always sounded good. They work well for just about any genre of music. Certainly any genre of music that I would ever play. Yeah, JB and the Jazz all the way for me, dude. I like other stuff out there, and I don't want those pickups in every guitar that I own by any means. But, but if you ask me to pick a favorite, JB in the bridge, Jazz in the neck. Uh-oh, UPS dude's new guitar day for somebody. But he didn't stop at my house. Let's see, Popeye's Chicken. If you're talking about where I should go for lunch, the nearest Popeye's Chicken from where I am is way down in Indianapolis in a really, really bad neighborhood. So, no. Ricardo Cavazos says, Saludos desde Monterrey in Mexico. So I'm thinking salutations from Monterrey, Mexico, I think is what that means. I don't speak Spanish, but I think I understand enough of that. So I love Mexico, man. I've been there technically 3 times and can't wait to go back. We're going to try to go back again next year. We've been to Cancun twice and Cozumel once, and which is basically, they're right next to each other, but I have not personally been to a more beautiful place on the planet than those places. JG Mopar's here. What's up, dude? Ryan 13 says, thoughts on the Epiphone Prophecy series. I haven't played them yet, but that's always, I had, the old Prophecy series, the original Prophecy series are one of my favorite Epiphone series ever. I really, really like those, particularly the ones. The old ones, you could get them with either EMGs, which, great, but, they also had you could buy the same guitar, but it came with Gibson Dirty Fingers pickups in it, and those are the ones that I like the best. So, yeah, I like them quite a bit. They're, I think a buddy of mine's already got one ordered. Epiphones, I'm not going to get to demo one for you guys, though. Epiphone, Gibson has told me to my face that they will not give anybody who has badmouthed them in the past any kind of demo gear. So I wouldn't anticipate seeing a demo of that on my channel. However, as Waleed just mentioned down in the chat, he just recently demoed that pedal, or that guitar, yesterday, and put up a good demo of it. So, and it sounds really, really good. So, Waleed, if you would be so kind as to post the link to your video on the Epiphone Prophecy in the chat so everybody can go check it out. I think a lot of people would find that very helpful. Whoa. Pardon me. What we got here? Casey Strange says, just bought a Boss DD7. I love it. Why is it your favorite? Well, as far as why it's my favorite, pardon me. I just always like the, it's part of it is because I'm biased towards Boss pedals. I love just about everything that they've ever done. Yeah, they put out a few clunkers over the years, but hell, they've been in business for going on 50 years now or something. So, they're any company's is due to swing and miss occasionally when you're in business that long. What the hell's going on? So, but yeah, I just always like the functionality of it, and the digital. I when it comes to delays, I always gravitate towards digital. That's just what I like the best. Boss digital delays always seem to be exceptionally clean and just work well with any kind of signal. Plus, I also kind of like the fact you get a little bit more. I was always able to customize my pedal boards a little bit more by just plugging in an external FS5U foot switch and even arrange it to where it was someplace separate away from, it didn't have to necessarily be right next to the DD7 on my board. But Boss have since come out with the DD3T and the DD8. They came out with those about a year ago, and the DD8 looks like a pretty sweet upgrade for the DD7. So I have not gotten one of those yet. They've been announcing on Facebook this week that they've got a new Wazacraft coming out, and they haven't revealed what it is yet. There's a lot of speculation it's going to be a fuzz, one of their FZ, a Wazacraft version, one of their FZ pedals, but they're not talking yet. I think Lee Alexander knows what it is, and he's not talking. He won't even tell me in private. So, pardon me. So I'm kind of in the dark right now. I have reached out directly to Yoshi at Boss though, and begged him to let me demo some of this, a couple of their new products for him. So he hasn't he hasn't responded. I'm sure he's getting lots of those requests, but so I don't know. I hope so. But if not, that's okay too. I did buy a Boss pedal this week, as a matter of fact, from Jim Woodard of the Practical Guitarist. My buddy over at one of my buddies over at the Practical Guitar Podcast sold me his Angry Driver this week. So, Charles 75N said, any experience with the TC Electronic Hall of Fame pedal? Yeah, that's kind of become, before that it was really it was the Boss RV5, the digital reverb. The RV5 has since been replaced with the RV6, which is even better. But both those Boss pedals are great. I think are great reverb pedals, and often overlooked. Because of stuff like the RV5, or because of like the Hall of Fame and all of the boutique stuff that's out there nowadays. But the Hall of Fame is kind of that line of pedals has expanded a lot. Now it's on their second generation. Now they're on the Hall of Fame 2. And I mean, they've kind of become that good old fashioned reliable, do exactly what you needed to do when you needed to do it reverb pedal that a lot of people go to. So yeah, no, I don't own one. I've never owned one. When it comes with reverb, I've always especially when I was when I was playing amps like like when I had my first Blue Voodoo, and when I was playing the B52s, stuff like that had reverb built in, had onboard reverb on the amps themselves. I never really spent much time or effort or money on reverb pedals because the onboard reverb's always good enough for me to do what I did. And I just used it as to add a little bit to my bass guitar tone. So, but if I were going to buy a reverb pedal, there's a very, very good chance it would probably be a Hall of Fame. John Garton II says best PAF clones. If you're talking pickups. Well, the only PAF, the original PAFs are all hand wound. So, most everything nowadays, even from Gibson, is all production model stuff. So, from Gibson, I really, I like 57 Classics and Classic Pluses quite a bit. I hate the Burstbuckers. Absolutely, I despise Burstbucker pickups with the exception of the Burstbucker Pro. But the Burstbucker 1, 2, and 3, I hate those pickups. But one of the better ones out there that I've tried, the DiMarzio PAF. Kind of funny that they got away with naming, with patenting with naming their patent the PAF, when they're not the ones that designed it. But so I like those, and then of course Seymour Duncan's always been my go-to pickup company. They've got stuff like the 59 model, that's probably their best PAF style pickup. But I don't know, the Seth Lover's pretty good too. I just just depends on what you like, man. Just depends on what you like. Mikey Gabbard says I found a PVXXL head and XXL 412 cap for $100 this weekend. Wow, that's a good deal. Don't confuse those with the the triple X's though. The XS, that's one reason why a lot of people. I was participating in a thread this weekend on Facebook. Somebody mentioned that one reason why the triple X, the PV triple X didn't last as long as it did, even though now all of a sudden people have discovered it, and it's Matt Heafy just did a Trivium record with it, and with his, and now all of a sudden people are buying them up. But there was actually some confusion way back in the day that move that's driving me nuts. There's some confusion back then between the PV Triple X and the PV XXL, because the Triple X is the tube head, but the XXL is a solid state head. So and a lot of people didn't know that there was a difference because they were very, very similarly named. So JD Mopar says MXR El Diablo pedal is pretty good. I need to revisit that one. I demoed that one on my channel twice. The first video that I did, I didn't like the sound of it at all, and so I decided to go back and try and mess with it again and do it in another video. And I found that one real hard to dial in, and I probably, I don't know. I've demoed so many overdrives since then. And it's doing that many overdrives has kind of changed the way that I dial in overdrives now. So I may have to go back and give that one another try. I still have it. Ricardo Cavazzo says, do you like parallel OV2 Aris effects? If you're talking about, I know the one. I think you're talking about that, the Aris effects, was that the one? I think there was an Aris Effects pedal, I think, that Fluff just demoed on his channel recently. I have not played it yet, and I can't remember if I watched that video or not. I watch most of his videos. I don't watch them all, but I watch most of them. That one I know I meant to, and I get alerts for YouTube videos all the time, and and sometimes I'm good about remembering it and go back and watch it when I have a few minutes, and and other times I get tied up doing a zillion other things and I just don't get to it. But so I can't remember if I watched that one. I don't think I did yet. But Aris Effects makes some good pedals though, man. My knee shirt says I have a PV Bandit. It's my amp stand for now. Amp stand for my Vox. I keep thinking I'm not buying any more gear this year. I am done buying gear, but I keep meaning to go and find a used PV Bandit. I just want to see what the hype is all about. Because I remember playing through one of those, clean. And I don't recall too much about the clean channel, but I remember the distortion channel on those. I remember I hated, but this was 20 years ago, so I want to see if I can track down a Red Stripe. I think I'm told that the Red Stripe PV Bandits are the ones to own. So I want to see if I can track one of those down, and just so I can see what the hype is all about. James Severin says, I want to add Greenie more to my collection. That's the... Well, Kirk Hammett paid $2 million for that guitar. So, and honestly, that's a lot of money even for a guy like him. I don't think he's going to let loose, that thing anytime soon. Matter of fact, he is, when I saw them live last year, and I was basically right up against the stage, he played that guitar quite a bit at that show. I knew that he had bought it. I was shocked to see that he took it out on tour with him, though. So, if I were out on tour, I don't care how much. That is not a guitar I would be taking with me. That would be studio only. I don't want anything to happen to that thing on the road. But They've Metallica's a big enough conglomerate now that they can pay all the people they need to pay to make sure that stuff stays safe. Bearded Clamps has ever tried Engel lamps? I'm really curious about them. Oh yeah, Engel lamps are awesome, dude. What is the the Powerball, the Fireball, the Savage is real popular. Now they got the Metal Masters that are out. I haven't they've got. I was just looking at them the other day. They've actually got a lot of it. They used to all be $2,500 and up, but and they still got plenty of the really expensive ones. But now they've got some others that are a little more in the in the mere mortal price range that are $1,200-$1,500 or so, that are lower wattage, which is probably what I would be interested in anyway if I were shopping for an Engel lamp. But some of the those Engels are known to be some of the best metal lamps on the planet. So if you're a metal player and you need a metal lamp, you need that tight high gain stuff. I don't think anybody's going to be mad at you for buying an Engel. Pardon me. Oh, what we got going on down here? Doc Amos Roxy, what's up, dude? Says, can't afford your turkey RGD, but maybe a jar of cheap gravy. Thanks for guitar themed hangout. My pleasure, sir. Thank you very much for for donating to the turkey fund this year. Jeff Seven says, bought my first amp at Arthur's Music in Fountain Square, 50-watt Western Auto. Yep, 1975. Yeah, they've been there a long time, man. It breaks my heart that you don't like fuzz. I don't know what to tell you, dude. I'm sorry. I don't understand why people want me to like what they like. JG Mopar says, hockey is my sport, 1976, since 1976. I like hockey, too. I like watching hockey. There's another, but I've got the same problem there that I do with baseballs, and I'm a Sharks fan. And, especially out here in the Midwest, we don't get Sharks games very often. Well, we didn't get hockey games very often at all this year. But even in a regular season, with a full 82 games and fans and everything, they don't we get a lot of, we get the Blues, we get the Blackhawks, we get the Red Wings, we all the the Blue Jackets, all the teams in the surrounding markets. But he says he's watching while video is rendering. Upgrading my computer was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because my old computer used to take like an hour and a half to render a video. It took forever, and uploading it was at least that long. Now I can render a video in about 5 or 10 minutes, and uploading can still take a bit, but it's not nearly as long as it used to be. Robert, are you watching The Mandalorian? Absolutely. I love The Mandalorian. People talking trash about the most recent, not the episode that went up last night, but the one from last week, with the big Kratos dragon. So, no, I like it, man. I like it. It's, Jon Favreau's a genius, dude. I think he is absolutely a genius. I'm glad that they went, that they introduced some new characters, and they didn't, they didn't cop out and, do a Boba Fett series or something like that. I know Boba Fett's popular, but and I still would have watched it if it was a Boba Fett series, but I would, I'm glad that they introduced an entirely new character and expanded a lot more on, who the Mandalorians are and what they do, and because that's never really been explained much before. JG Mopar says, I've noticed JBs are finicky with the wood on the guitar body as far as sound. They can be. I know. I mean, I've never had any bad experiences with them, but some people don't seem to like them in mahogany guitars as well as they do like alder guitars or ash or something like that. So they can be. They can. They do react a little bit differently depending on. Depending on what the guitar itself is made out of. At least they can. So, Paul Adamek says, Robert, what amplifier do you use to play out live? I don't play out live very much anymore, but if I, matter of fact, it's been at least a couple years since the last time I played a gig, because my YouTube channel started doing real well about 3 years ago, and that's been mostly what I've been doing, and so I don't play out live anymore. But to answer your question, the last live show I did play, I took my Randall RD20 out, in the 212, my Seismic Audio 212 cabinet for that, and it did okay. The venue we were playing was a little bit bigger than it was a little bit larger, and I probably should have brought a bigger amp for that. But mic'd up through the PA, it sounded okay up front. It just didn't have enough stage volume, and I would have liked to have heard myself a little bit better. So, but other than that, usually if I would probably I'd definitely take that amp again for smaller venues, but. Other than that, usually, I've always taken either my 6505 combo or my Marshall, my JCM 900, and the 412 cabinet. So, yeah. So I don't know. If I start playing gigs again, not very many people playing gigs at all right now, but if I do start playing gigs again here in the near future. I don't know. I may, I've got a couple of other big heads now. I may end up rocking the PV Windsor for the next one I play, just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it. Christopher Morrow's here. What's up, dude? Barry Dead Clam says, I think the solar guitar pickups are based on the JB Jazz. That I don't know. I couldn't tell you, to be honest. I mean, I thought Ole England was always an EMG guy, or something. I know he's always played real high output pickups, but Svenny Guitar says Black Winners or Livewire. I want to try. Black Winners are cool. I mean, the thing with the live wires, everybody's, which live wires, I guess, is, you would need to answer because there's several of them. The live wires, Seymour Duncan live wire pickups are not a model. It's a series. It's a specific series of active pickups, and they've got a bunch of different models that all sound entirely different from each other. You've got one set that is really, really insanely high output that, I mean, you couldn't get a clean signal out of it if you tried to, and it's just really, really high output. It's just, they're built strictly for flamethrower distortion. But then there's also like the Dave Mustaine live wire pickups that are really, really moderate output and are not really that hot at all, despite the fact that they are active. So. Oh, dude, JG Mopar just contributed to the PayPal fund. Thanks, dude. He made a donation, made a super chat donation, not in the super chat. So that one went straight to bypass the middleman there. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Doc Amos Roxy says, dang, I saw a warning for the first time in weeks, and then your channel exploded. Yeah, it did. I had some, if you weren't on at the beginning, I had some technical difficulties. What happened was, when, my Windows updated my computer with a pretty big update the other night, and I didn't think anything of it except for when I went to go do my live show here today, and I went to go click live. All of a sudden, I didn't have any audio, and so I assumed that had something to do with it, and I knew it reset something back to default. I just couldn't figure out what in the hell it was, and then finally I found it. It was actually in OBS itself instead of control panel or something like that where I thought it might be, but yeah, it was rather annoying. Christopher Morrow says, new camera angle. Ever been gone that long? Not really. Same camera angle. I mean, it's, I always set my camera up on my sidecar here on my live desk, or for my live shows, and point it at me. I did get a horizontal boom extension for my tripod, so it's a little bit closer, and I do have it zoomed in a little bit closer than I normally do right now. Than I normally do, just cause. So no, camera is still the same camera I've been using for all my live streams here for about a year or so now. Not quite that long, I guess. I got it first part of 2020, I think. Yeah, I bought that with my. Yeah, that was my. Yeah, I seem to get loaded up with Amazon gift cards and stuff for Christmas, and that was my big Amazon purchase in January. Was that shiny new Panasonic camera, and I think I'd had it out of the box for about a half hour and just mounted up onto a cheap tripod that I had laying around, and it took me about that long for me to knock it over. That was fun. But I talk about that a little bit more in depth in an upcoming video that you guys will see soon. Actually, I think you guys are going to see that one tomorrow, actually. Rondo Bondo says, I built some pretty good PAF pickups. There you go. If you're looking for PAF pickups, go hit up Rondo Bondo. See if he can build you something. JD Mopar says, got a new Epiphone Explorer, $599. Flawless, has incredible quality of higher priced guitars. Epiphones, Epiphone guitars are really, really well made right now, man. Really well made. Yeah, I mean, they're, like I said, they've, I've had my gripes about Gibson in the past, and I've called them out on it. Granted, that was all back in the Henry era, and they're under entirely new management and ownership and leadership and everything now. But I think they're turning things around and heading back in the right direction. Despite some of the bad press that they've gotten with some of the lawsuit bullshit that they've and I don't think even a lot even that is on JC and the current leadership team there now. Play Authentic thing, they I don't know what they were thinking with that one. that was a head inserted into rectum moment when they made that video. That was stupid. But beyond that, though, I think as far as the quality of their guitars go, I think they're actually turning the corner. So most Epiphones seem to be consistently well built these days. Svenny Guitar says, Boss headphones thing. If you're talking about that headphone amp that they came out with here recently, I've not tried one, but that thing looks pretty cool. I've seen a lot of other people on YouTube, like Mary Spender, and I think the Andertons guys demoed it. Yeah, I would. I'm a little hesitant of it just because that's like really, really high tech, and I'm afraid that I'm afraid I'd get frustrated before I figured it out. But I'm sure I could figure it out. But I think it's pretty cool, man. Especially if you're wanting to jam through through a legitimate amplifier silently. Practice it at home or something. I think it's a cool idea. Will it take off? That I don't know. They could make them for a year and they tank and that's the end of it. But Park Kinger says, I prefer analog over digital for delay. Analog, I like analog delay too, but analog. I don't like how the thing that sometimes annoys me about analog delay is how it warms up and breaks up there towards the end of the of the repeats, and that's why I like digital over analog, because digital doesn't do that. Digital stays clean throughout. Thoughts on the PV Invective? Very cool amps. I'd like to have one. As a matter of fact, the full, they've got the full size one. Then they just came out with the MH here in the last 6 months or so. Matter of fact, customer of mine is, we've been talking about that amp quite a bit here recently because he's interested in one. But the Invective, the big one's cool because it's got 2 effects loops, and I'd have to sit down and mess with it to actually figure out how that works. But a buddy of mine has one, and he says they're actually pretty useful, particularly in the studio. It's also got that onboard noise gate, which is it's designed to be a metal machine. It's based on the 5150. Misha Mansour played 5150s forever and 6505s. That's always been his amp. So the Invective is based on his 6505s and 5150 amps is what it is, which is pretty cool. Yeah, they sound great. I'd like to have one. There's a lot of amps I'd like to have though. I shot my guy at PV an email this week, but I haven't heard back yet. I don't know if I will or not. I've been trying to get my foot in the door with those folks and demo some gear for them, but haven't this COVID thing has really put a damper on that this year. So Waleed says, Burstbucker Pro with a big heart next to it. Let me see here. I'm going to try to get caught up in the chat here real quick. I learned my lesson a few weeks ago. If I fall too far behind, you guys ask me a question and I don't get to it for like a half hour or so. Ben Potter's here. What's up, dude? Host says, hopefully you're having a good weekend so far. Unfortunately, I have not. Technical difficulties with my live show. The largest pedal group on Facebook, decided to start hating me again because of my Fuzz Factory video a couple weeks ago. So I got enemies all over the place. Okay. Music Zep Kid says, I've been playing guitar for 1 year and proud to say I learned all of Justice for All. Wow. Like you were learning the whole record of the song. Well, even if you just learned the entire song front to back, that's pretty impressive for only been playing for a year. Man, that entire album is bizarre because Metallica. A lot of people don't realize this, or at least nobody talks about it. But I mean, they went off the rails when they wrote that album. All the songs on that album, they were using weird, odd times. I mean, in the same song, they'll go from 4/4 to 5/4 to 3/4 to 2/4 to 4/4, and and they're using really, really weird, oddball chords and stuff. And it's not all power chords straight ahead like everything else was before that. So it's, there's a lot of real strange. I don't want to call them oddities, but they're not things that that become very intuitive to me as a guitar player, having learned all the stuff from the 3 albums before that, and playing that kind of stuff. They really took Justice to a new level, You know, hate on the snare drum sound all you want on that record. That's fine, but but James and Kirk's guitar playing was quite a bit different. Dave Escobar says, "Hey, Robert just bought a used Axe-Fx Ultra for $400. Wow. First experience the fractal stuff. I've been holding off for a long time until price got low enough to see what all the hype is about. I'm assuming that's that's the first generation Axe-Fx. I don't know. Be the only way I could see anybody getting a hold of an Axe-Fx anything for that cheap. But still, even the first gen ones. I remember when those first came out. I mean, they were still." That was before the Helix and before the Kempers and all that stuff, and that Axe-Fx was all the rage. Everybody was raving about that thing. I'm not a processor guy, but Tony is. I think he's still got the Axe-Fx too, but regardless, I've heard his, and his sounds pretty good. Ben Potter says, "I can't stop buying KSR products. KSR amps are killer, man." He said, "My next guitar is going to be a Les Paul Custom from the 70s or 80s. I've got a certain amount of money sitting aside in my sock drawer right now that, I'm hoping that I can keep saving that up. And, I'm kind of thinking that my next guitar is going to be the Les Paul Custom that I've always wanted. But, I'm still only about, maybe halfway to what I would need for that guitar, probably, maybe even a little less. So if I finally get to buy that goddamn Les Paul Custom that's eluded me for decades now, it's still going to be a while, but hopefully, I don't know. Maybe I'll be able to make it happen. I'm not sure. I really hope so, but because at this point, honestly, I just want to buy the damn thing just so that I could say that I own it and put it behind me and quit worrying about it. JG Mopar says, "I like Kirk's horror movie collection memorabilia." I didn't know he had a horror movie memorabilia collection, but I mean, I know that's always kind of been an interest to his because a lot of his guitars are themed that way, but I didn't know he had a memorabilia collection. That's cool. Douglas Gagne says, Black Star ? I don't know if you're asking me my thoughts on Black Star. They hate me too. Most of the ID stuff I can't stand. The TVPs are, the bigger ones I guess are okay, but I've heard some people get some pretty good tones out of them, but I can't get on board with all the digital shit that they're doing. The stage, like the HT series amps are okay. They're not the best sounding amps I've ever heard. Not the worst, but not the best. They're really okay. I do like the Series 200s, but those are also the really, really expensive ones. Those are $2,500, $3,000 or something like that. They're insane amount of money. John Garten 2 says, "You hate Burstbuckers. Why? And how is the 57 Classics better?" If it's for the kind of music you play, I understand. I'm just trying to gather all the information I can on these Gibson pickups. The 57 Classics, I will admit the 57 Classics are a little bit more temperamental pickup. I have played guitars with those in it that something else should have been in that guitar. But generally speaking, the Burstbuckers, and you're right, none of those pickups that you mentioned, none of them are real high output at all. But the 57 Classics, I think offer a lot more clarity, and they're a little more. oh man, I don't know how to describe it. You know what I mean? Real clarity, I guess, is the best thing. I mean, the one of the best sounding Les Pauls I ever played. Well, actually, wasn't even an authentic Gibson. It was one of those. You know, I actually owned this guitar for a while, but it was this kit Les Paul thing that, you know, had somebody bought off eBay, and, you know, they put all authentic Gibson USA electronics and hardware and stuff on it. So, for all intents and purposes, it was a Gibson. They just didn't build the body and the neck. But that one had 57 classics in it, and that was one of the best sounding Les Pauls I've ever played. You know, I got too good of a deal getting rid of it that I couldn't not get rid of it to get what I got. But, you know, so I don't regret it, but that's one guitar that I'm always going to remember because it sounded awesome. You know, it was just, you know, like, it was just perfect balance of EQ and clarity. The Burstbuckers, on the other hand, you know, those things just sound, most of them, the 1, 2, and the 3 anyway, just all come out sounding, you know, like muddy madness to me. I don't like them at all. You know, they're either too dark or too bright, or, you know, something there. There's just no middle ground there. The Burstbucker Pro, on the other hand, though, that one I like. That one I like a lot. I actually have I've got a Burstbucker Pro in the neck of my SG. You know, so I like the Burstbucker Pro, but I wouldn't be caught dead buying a guitar with a 1, 2, or a 3 in it. So, but, you know, again, that's my personal you know, and the other thing about the Burstbuckers is, you know, the 57s that I had were the old school 57s, you know, the 2-conductor. You know, all the Burstbuckers now they're all 4-conductor, and they with that push-pull crap that, you know, is fine if, you know, I guess if you want it, but my niece here says, "Is that your phone that keeps going off?" My phone's on silent. You know, it's it's face up, so, you know, I can see alerts, but it's not ringing, so I'm not sure what it is that you might be hearing. Why are you so far behind in the comments? Because you guys are typing them a lot faster than I'm reading them. Cool Guitar Gears here. What's up, dude? Says, Gears like bands, people wanting to like something as much as they do. I had a girlfriend who loved the Eagles, but I thought they were just okay. That is true. My niece here says, I saw Star Wars in like 77, never got the hype. That was the year that the first Star Wars movie came out, same year I was born. And I do contend that I did get to, you know, even though it came out in May and I was born in December, I do contend that I did still get to see it in the theater because I was in my mother's belly when she saw it in the theater. Thoughts on Fender Fernandez Sustainer from Drew Smith. If you talk about the Sustainiac pickup there, I like them. I don't own a guitar with one in it. I keep telling myself I'm going to buy a Schecter, you know, Sun Valley Super Shredder just to get the Sustainiac. Plus, and I really like those guitars too. I demoed one on my channel a couple years ago, but I keep telling myself I'm going to buy one of those, and, you know, just keep never getting around to it. But they're cool, man. They're a lot of fun to play around with, and you know, they if you've never messed with one, you know, particularly for, you know, songwriting and solos and stuff like that, they open up a lot of creative possibilities of things that you probably heard before, but things you might not ever, at least for me, at least things I might not ever think to play on my own without having it. So, but that said, if you forget to turn them off, they can get away from you in a hurry. Doc Amos Roxy says, question, sell all my almost there gear and just buy the best Milkman or Dr. Z, I'm assuming you're talking about, whatever, $2-3 grand amp. I don't know, man. I wouldn't. I mean, I've always been a advocate of saving up for it as long as saving up for what you want and keeping what you already have. I like options. Doc, Solar versus Chapman. I've not gotten to play Solar guitar yet, so everybody I know that has them. I'm seeing more and more of them pop, more and more guys popping up on YouTube with them here lately. So my understanding of the Solar, the Solar guitars are, I mean, they're built in the same factory and everything as old Washburn. I can't remember what they called that series, but whatever that whatever that Washburn guitar was that he was playing prior to starting Solar guitars. My understanding is they're just about the exact same thing except for the logo. I don't know if that's true or not. I guess somebody told me, a friend of mine told me that recently. But there are a whole lot of differences. So that said, I bought 2 Chapman guitars this year, both of them V2s out of the new factory that they're having them built in, and I've been very, very impressed with both of them. So Cool Guitar Gears. I guess Cool Guitar Gear just had a video go up. Looks like a demo on the GP100 by Valaton. I never heard back from them, actually, now that I think about it. But apparently, unsubscribing and resubscribing to your channel this morning helped, because I have not gotten alerts to your last several videos. And now they're showing up again, so I guess that worked. Park Kingery says I have the Metal Live wires, original set. Output is off the chart. Those are the ones I'm talking about, the Metal Live wires. Those things are, there is no clean tone with those. You can plug them into a bass amp and there's no clean tone. Mikey Gabbard says YouTube takes 30% of super chats. If you donate straight through PayPal, there's no cut. That is true. That is true. Yep, YouTube helps, for every $10 that I get, YouTube helps themselves to 3 of them. Part of me thinks, well, I mean, it's 7's better than 0, and which is true, but with all the other, the percentage of the ad revenue that creators get compared to what YouTube gets, 30%'s a little stiff. I think it ought to be more like 10, but I just took a long survey on YouTube last night and strongly expressed my opinion on that. Mikey Gabbard says I'm taking an amp building class at the beginning of the year, going with a Tweed Deluxe 5E3 build. Those things are getting popular. I know, Sweetwater facilitates a lot of those. With I know Bruce Egnator's done a clinic up there. Josh Scott of JHS Pedals did a pedal building clinic up there. David Gabe went to that. He invited me, wanted me to go along with him for that. That's not the kind of thing that I can get into, though. That's too much like work. It says, I'm sure Robert links his PayPal in the description of the video. Yes, I do. PayPal should be linked up in the description of every video. PayPal is the only, JG Mopar says PayPal is the only one I could figure out for donating. I'm not sure how you do super chats. There should be down there at the very bottom of the chat window, you should be a little icon. That's a dollar sign. So basically, you just click on that and follow the prompts, I guess. So, or check the video description, and again, the PayPal link is in there if you guys are so inclined to support the channel. And if you are, I am very, very grateful if you do. Serenity Guitar says PV customer service is great. I have a Solo Series 112 with Scorpion reverb, and they sent me schematics for it. I've heard hot and cold about people's experience dealing directly with PV recently in the last couple of years. I think they have tried to step it up, and because they did get so many complaints there for a while. But I've always had good dealings with people at PV that I've dealt with directly. So they've always been polite and respectful, and and all that kind of stuff. Here with me, when I've had to call them for customer needs and stuff, they've always been prompt with helping me out with that stuff too. So Paul Adamek says this is going back some years. Why did Marshall Amp stop using EL34s? They didn't stop using EL34s. They still put EL34s in. The JCM 800 still have them. The Plexi still have them. What else do they make? And I think the DSLs have EL34s in them. Blues. I don't know about the Blues Breakers. I think they do, but yeah. I mean, to my knowledge, they still put EL34s in most of their amps. There's a few exceptions where they put like KT66s and 5881s and stuff like that. But generally speaking, they tend to use EL34s. JG Mopar says, I do all my recording with a 20-watt ID core. Sorry, man, I didn't mean to shit on your recording amp, but I don't care for the ID cores at all. They are not my thing. Dave Escobar says, Robert, when you bought your Windsor, did you get the cab? Those cabs seem to go very cheap. I wonder how they sound. Windsor heads sound great. I tried a friend's nice tones through a 1968 cab. No, I didn't get the cab with it. And honestly, and I wouldn't get the cab with it, to be honest, because they don't sound very good. The cab itself is fine, but they put some, you got to remember, part of the attraction of that amp was the price tag. When they were still being made, I think that head brand new was like $400. They weren't very expensive at all. The cab was like $250 or something. So you could get, an entire brand new half stack for $650. Now, again, that's going back 15 or 20 years, and $650 went a lot farther then than it does now. But the cab itself, they didn't, they were, at that time, PV was still, it's only been recently that PV started using aftermarket speakers in any of their amps. They've finally recently started putting a Celestion in an amp or two here and there, or an Eminence or something. But prior to that, they would only use their own proprietary speakers. And in my opinion, the only one of their proprietary speakers that was worth owning was the Sheffield. And everything else, I can't remember what speakers came in the Windsor cabs, Blue Marvels or something like that, but they're terrible. I do not like those speakers at all. So, I wouldn't, if I were to buy the cab, it would just be because it had the Windsor logo on it, and I would have to get it dirt cheap because the speakers are going to, if the original speakers are still in it, they're going to be the first things to go. Cool Guitar Gear says, based on your recommendation, I'm looking at getting a set of Kali monitor speakers, LP8s, likely in December. I'll keep you informed of what I think compared to my KRK Rocket 8s. I think you're going to like them. I don't know what generation of the Rockets you have. I was not a real big fan of the KRK Rockets up until the third generation. They're on Gen 4 now. So the Rocket 3s and 4s I think are pretty good. The ones and twos, no thank you. But the Callies, the Cali audio, the Cali audio monitors, I've got the sixes. And I mean, they take up a ton of space as it is. I don't know where I'd put a pair of eights because those cabinets are huge. But the sixes, it's when it comes to clarity, no question. No, in their price range, at that price point, I don't think there's anything that's even close to beating them. So. Topher Taylor, thank you, sir. Parallax, Washburn Parallax series. That's what I was thinking of. I could never remember the name of that damn guitar series when I need to. But yes, Washburn Parallax series are, my understanding, are pretty much the Solar guitars are pretty much the Washburn Parallaxes. Archer says, afternoon, Robert. Hope all is well. Any more problems with Richard the Dick? I've had problems with plenty of dicks this weekend. So, admittedly, I'm not real sure exactly who you're referring to, but I think there may have been a troll on the live show last week that was, may have been acting an asshole, if you will. DJ Calvi says, hi, Robert. I have a pair of Dirty Fingers pickups. I already have a 57 in the neck. Would you recommend to install both Dirty Fingers or just one at the bridge and keep the 57? I would probably keep the 57 in the neck. There's something to be said about high output in the bridge and lower output, moderate output in the neck. Because when you flip over to that neck pickup, the extra high output does not necessarily do you any favors, particularly if you're flipping over the neck pickup for like a solo lead or something. There are plenty of instances lower output pickups are more ideal for that situation, which is why so many manufacturers send them out of the factory that way. It's also the reason why Seymour Duncan only, they only make a bridge version of the JB. You can put it in the neck, but there's not a dedicated neck version of the JB. And all of their pickups that there is a bridge on neck version. If you look at the output, the impedance outputs on all of them, you'll always notice the neck is lower output. So nothing wrong with going high output. Kirk Hammett uses two EMG 81s. So, I mean, there's definitely exceptions to that rule. But generally speaking, higher output in the bridge, lower output in the neck for rock and metal type stuff. Archer says 30%. Isn't that what the mob charges for interest? Thereabouts. Yeah. Morning, Robert. Gargoyle84 says, what are your top three favorite pedals? Amp Tweaker Type Metal Pro. Oh, boy. Oh, man. Type Metal Pro is definitely number one. The rest of, for 2 and 3, man, that changes so often. God, that changes really often. I used my Flatiron Fuzz, in the EHX Rat Cologne for something this week, and really, really like that pedal. I can't call that one a favorite though. Amp Tweaker Type Metal Pro, Wazacraft Metal Zone, and I don't know, probably Digitech Lux, probably. So they're distortion, overdrive, delay, or distortion, chorus, and delay, I guess. Man, I don't know. That's if you ask me that question an hour from now, I'm probably going to give you a different answer. I love pedals. That's why I've got 160 or something of them. Mikey Gabbard said, would you rather YouTube take less of a cut on the super chat, or would you like a greater percentage on the ad revenue? Honestly, I think they ought to cut creators in a little bit more on each of them, to be honest. So the percentage of, I think my cut of ad revenue was like 0.0001% or something like that. I mean, it's next to nothing. I mean, I got to get a lot of my viewers have to get ads in front of them for me to make money. And fortunately, I'm able, that I've got enough videos out there, and YouTube puts enough ads in front of my viewers that's possible for me. But at the same time, that's a lot of ads in front of my viewers, and that tends to piss people off after a while. And that's not what I want either. So yeah, there's this ecosystem on YouTube between YouTube creators and viewers, and it's certainly never been in balance in the 5 years that I've been doing this. But I've talking to other experts, YouTube experts, guys like like Daryl Eves, who's been on YouTube since like 2004 or 5 or 6 or something, and that's what he does, is like YouTube training. He is, he's there. Believe it or not, there are such things as YouTube certifications, and he's certified in everything that YouTube certifies people in. And he's got direct contacts. Like, he can actually pick up the phone and call somebody's direct line at YouTube if he's got a question about something, a change that may have been made or something like that. So, and even he says that, for as long as he's been on YouTube, that ecosystem has never been in balance. So, there's, so clearly after this long, there really is no perfect balance, because, eventually somebody's going to get screwed. But, it just seems the last few years, it's, the people getting screwed the most with creators. So, Alex2112 says, love your channel, Robert. What do you think of Ace Frehley's latest recording, Origins 2? I haven't heard it, actually. I have to give it a listen. I like Ace Frehley, so I'm sure I'd probably enjoy it. But I'll be honest, man. The truth is, when it comes to new music, I'm the older I get, the more skeptical I get. I am not as I got a buddy that puts new music in front of me all the time. And a lot of times I like what he tells me to listen to. But I haven't really heard. I very rarely hear anything that I like well enough that makes me say, "Holy shit, I got to go get that record." Sons of Apollo were the last band to make me do that, and that was just recently. Their first record, especially with Symphony of Chaos or whatever that album's called. It's not really new anymore. I guess it's been out a year or two now, but that record kicks ass. I've been listening to that album nonstop, driving around town for months now. But before that, probably, the last one that grabbed me like that was probably Five Finger Death. No, before that, the last one that grabbed me like that was Ghost, and then Five Finger Death Punch before that. So, I probably shouldn't be as skeptical about music as I am, but I am. Reverend G says, Robert, what's your opinion of the Marshall Mode 4? I've wanted a Mode 4 forever. And I had a chance to buy one from a dude. Somebody sent me a link to, it was a Craigslist listing or something like that. Or maybe it was Facebook. I think maybe it was Facebook Marketplace now that I think about it. But it was down in like South Carolina, and he was selling it dirt cheap. And I almost bought it, and I just couldn't justify even the price that he was selling it for. I just couldn't justify spending that money at that particular point in time. So I ended up letting it go, and I'm still kicking myself for it. But even though I know it was the right decision at the time financially. And then the Rondo, who was up in the chat earlier, I don't know if he's still hanging out in here or not, but Rondo Bondo had actually sent me a message recently, just last week or so, I think. But he had a buddy that was that had one for sale, and that one, I guess that one turned out to have something wrong with it, and again, wasn't the right one. But I like the Mode 4s a lot. I've always wanted one, and I just they're popping up on the used market less and less, so they're getting harder and harder to find. Not impossible, but harder. So one day the right one will come, will show up in front of me. Reverend G says also, or the Crate Blue Voodoo. I'm assuming that's an extension of the Marshall Mode 4 question. I will direct you to see the, just go straight to my channel and go to the video section. There is a very, very recent video on the Crate Blue Voodoo, and all of my opinions on the Crate Blue Voodoo are in that video. That was my very first tube amp, and I loved it. Cool Guitar Gear says KRK Rockets he has are Gen 3s. So I still think you're going to like the Calis better. I don't think you gain a ton more low end on the 8s versus the 6s. The 6s are actually 6.5-inch speakers. So, you gain a little bit more bottom end by stepping up to the 8s. Not a lot, but my understanding is you gain a lot more clarity. Not a lot, but a significant amount of more clarity in those monitors. So I'm happy with the 6s. I don't need to upgrade them, and they're plenty for what I do. But it's not like I'm any kind of master studio engineer anyway. My mixes are a coin toss as to how they're going to sound when they come out. but I like the Calis. I like Calis a lot. Kind of makes you wonder on why more companies aren't putting out high quality monitors like this for that kind of price range. Let's see. Nice Celestion loaded 212 cab for non-gigging purpose. What all-around head for classic rock and some metal? If only one head, or just pedals and a mixer set up into the 212. I'd go JCM 800. If you're just jamming around at home, go with that new studio version that just came out. That's only 20 watts. But what you described, what you just described sounds like JCM 800 to me. No question. There's a lot of other amps that would fit that description too, I think, but the the first amp that comes to mind when asked that question, the first amp that comes to my mind is JCM 800. But you might also look for something like, say, a used Mesa Boogie Mark III or even a Mark IV out there. Mark V's will get there too, but they're a lot, that's the current model, and they're a lot more expensive than what you can buy one of the used older versions for. So Izzy Stradlin used a Mark III on the Appetite for Destruction record, if that tells you anything. Pardon me. Zach Wilson says, what power attenuator do you use for bedroom playing? Either this is a torpedo captor, and the attenuation on this is minus 20 dB or bust. That's what it's got. But it's also got an output level that's more for the DI side. But so you can also go direct into a DAW or interface or multi-track or something like that, and control some volume with it that way. Some of the Weber attenuators are really good. A lot of it depends on how many watts your amp is as well, and what kind of amp you're using. If you're using a solid state amp, I don't know that attenuator is really necessary. One benefit to solid state amps is they're made to run at low volume. As well as much as they are high volume, right? So, so a lot of that depends on the amp that you're using. But if you're talking tube amps and you want to crank it and keep the volume down, then the Webers are real good. They got some really good attenuators. Just make sure you got one that will handle the wattage of your amp. That real cheap, I got mine on Reverb years ago. Actually, it was a gift, but that's where it came from. Real cheap Carl's Custom Guitars Power Soak, I think is what it's called. I demoed that thing on my channel several years back, so you can go check out that video. Or let's see what else is out there. The Behringer one, there's a Behringer attenuator out there. I guess it's supposed to be pretty decent, but it's Behringer stuff is real hard to get right now because they announced to the world last week that they're ending their relationship with their current U.S. distributor. If you're in the U.S. anyway, they're ending their relationship with their current U.S. distributor and have not found a replacement yet. So if you're looking for Behringer gear in the U.S. right now, and it's not leftover stock from something that they already had from before this happened, you're going to be waiting a while. So if you can track one of those down, that's probably a pretty good inexpensive option. Then there's the Sur. I know Sur's got a couple of really good attenuators, like the IR loader is excellent. That one's got all the onboard impulse response stuff, and I think that one's only like $600. So compared to like the 2 Notes Torpedo Live, which is $900, or several others, the Oxbox and the Boss tube amp expander. Those are both like $1,300. Yeah, there's a lot of options for attenuators out there. Fryette, there's a couple of good Fryette models. The 2 Notes Captor X. Pardon me. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff, man. There's all kinds of stuff across all different kinds of price points. Ambrose says, "What's up, Robert? What flavor of vape you've been using lately?" This is Naked, I think is the brand. It's a watermelon lime menthol, something or other. I like it. I enjoy it. RGD/others. If vape flavors correlated to guitars or amps, how would you taste them? I have no idea how to answer that question. I'm gonna have to think on that and get back with you. I have no idea. I've never really never really thought of amps. Amp sounds in my head to correspond with with flavors in my mouth. Gargoyle 84 says, "I'm interested in purchasing a 412 cab for my Marshall DSL 40CR. What would you recommend? Marshall 1960A or A or B, depending on if you want a slant or a straight cab. I like the slant cabs, or a AV or a BV. So basically a Marshall 1960, either with the GT 12 T75s, which is just the regular 1960 cab, or the 1960 V cabs, which are the ones with the vintage 30s. So if you want a matching Marshall cab, those are the one of the two that I would go with. Or the TV cab. The TV cabs are awesome. Pardon me. I had itching my nose all of a sudden. I don't know where. The TV cabs are killer. That's the great big oversized greenback cab. John Garton II says, "Opinion on the new AC/DC album." I haven't heard the whole album yet, but the songs I have heard off of it are pretty good, man. It sounds like AC/DC. They brought Angus's cousin in to replace Malcolm, so they kept the rhythm guitar section in the family. AC/DC don't put out bad records, man. They're not, whenever they put out a new record, it doesn't fly off the shelves like it did back in the 80s and 90s, but, no band does that anymore. So, yeah, no, I dig it, man. I like AC/DC a lot. I don't really can't think of one album that I've ever heard from them that I thought, man, this absolutely sucks ass. You know, I've never thought that when listening to an AC/DC record. RGD, how many years have you been working in guitar stores? Going on 15 or so. You know, I don't actually work in a guitar store anymore. You know, I what I do, and I can't. I'm not going to talk about who I work for, and get into too many details. But I mean, I sell to commercial accounts. So you know, I sell like PA systems to big churches and you know, studio gear to pro level studios, and you know, live sound stuff to mobile DJs and touring musicians, and you know, PA gear to venues, you know, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I still get a few, you know, like consumer customers that come to me like through referrals and stuff. You know, some of those customers still you know, find their way to me through, you know, any number of different means, which is okay. You know, and I'm still, you know, I'm happy to help them out as much as I am anybody else. But I mean, primarily what I do is I sell to businesses. So, you know, I don't do that out of a store. Zach Wilson says using a Marshall Origin 50. Yeah, that's those amps are loud. So yeah, you're gonna want to make sure you get an attenuator that'll handle at least 50 watts. So 50 or 100. Yeah, check out the Weber stuff, dude. You know, they're, you know, small town. As a matter of fact, they're here in Indiana, not too far from me. Like, you know, maybe an hour north, maybe. You know, check them out, and you know, they're, you know, send them an email and see what they think, what they recommend. But all of their attenuators, I think, you know, if you get on their website, I think it's just Weber.com. Not to be confused with Weber Grills, but I'll tell you what. Let me find the website here. Weber speakers. That's it. TedWeber.com is what it is. Ted, TEDWEBER, TedWeber.com. So you're looking for. They're probably more well known for their speakers than they are their attenuators, but they do have several attenuator models, and they've got one called the Mass Light, which is a 100-watt attenuator that will attenuate obviously up to 100 watts. No, I'm sorry. This one says designed for use with 60-watt amplifiers and lower. That one's about $250. That's probably the one you want. So, the one up from that is the Mass 3, designed for use with 80-watt amps for about $300. Now the Mass 200, designed for amps up to 100 watts for $276, and then the Mass 100 attenuator is 60 watts for $296. Here, let me show you guys what I'm looking at. I should have done this from the get-go. Sorry, dudes. Display capture. Here we go. All right, so here we are, tedweber.com/gadgets/attenuators, etc., etc. If I were you, I would probably be gunning for either this model here or this model here. I would probably, you know, the difference being $40, I would probably go with the Weber Mass 100, just because it's got some more, like, you know, speaker, tonal switching, shifting things that are quite handy. But that's probably the one that I would gun for. Yeah, if I were you, for a Marshall Origin 50. Yeah, Weber makes good stuff. Park Kingery says I use the Tom Schultz Power Soak. Those are great if you can find them, but you know, those have been around for so long. You know, they're not made anymore, of course, but they're when you do find them, all of us, they're people always seem to want way too much money for those nowadays. I haven't found a good deal on one of those in years. I'd love to have one, but can't find one. But they are cool. Uh, 8x24. As in like speaker cabinets, like 8 24-inch speakers. God, you'd never be able to move it. RGD, have you done a past video on how a beginner electric player can set up today's computer setups? I'm old and I just play loud. I'm confused. Any help? I did do a video on building a home studio for about, I don't know, 6 months or so ago. Let me see if I can find it. That's one that doesn't seem to have gotten a whole lot of that one doesn't get a whole lot of action these days. At least not to my knowledge, it doesn't. Let's see. Let's go to your channel. Videos. That was a while ago. Maybe close to a year ago now, I guess. Sustainer. Chair. Go to Anna. Yeah, it was almost a year ago. Wow.
Today.
Wow, that wall looks empty without that base hanging there. Here we go. I'll post a link in the chat for you so you can go check that out. Hopefully, I don't know if that'll have all the info that you're looking for in it, but hopefully that'll help. You Give Me a 23 says, I'm writing a song called Cardboard Sprouts. It's all about cars and chicks and stuff. Interesting. Thunder Falcon says, favorite line array brand. Line array seems to be a PA term that is often misnomered because, line array is technically like, big PA speakers that you fly from the air that, you stack 8 of them or whatever on top, and they project out a great big wide angle when you got a bunch of them mounted together. So if you're talking about those, then Bose RCF, probably what I would go with. One of those, maybe the EVs. Probably go the Bose route. But if you are talking about, like a lot of people think of, they confuse the term line array with column array, and that's your stand-up big column or small portable column PAs like the Bose L1s and stuff like that. And if you're talking about those, definitely the Bose L1s. They're the ones that came up with that design originally, and I still think their sound better than anybody else's. So, hey, Doc Amos Roxy with the super chat. Thank you. My pleasure, sir. Thank you. I hope that watch that video when you get a moment. Like I said, I don't know if that's going to give you all the info that you need, but hopefully it'll help. It's Stuff Rock. That's not as cool, not as good, not as cool as the Butt Rock. That's the Butt Rock is that's one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. I didn't know what it was, till I just heard that term for the first time like a year ago, and a couple of coworkers of mine were talking about it. And they told me what it is and what it derives from. It's your like Creed and Alter Bridge and Nickelback and all the stuff from all the hard rock from that era. That's all like at the heart of that catalog. JD Mopar says my cat has a band on Reverb Nation. I got a friend request on Facebook from somebody's cat this week. I didn't quite know what to make about that. JG Mopar says, "What about Mighty Might pickups? Do they still make them?" I don't know, and I never used them. I always kind of thought Mighty Might was, it was like their they're more always seem to be more well known for like their guitar necks and stuff. And their guitar necks were okay, but they were compared to like the compared to a Warmoth neck, there was no comparison. You bought Mighty Might if you couldn't afford a Warmoth. So, they were good. They just weren't. I never thought of them as great. Best way I can think to describe them. So, but I never tried any of their pickups. So I don't have any experience with those, unfortunately. Ambrose in the super chat. Thank you, brother. My pleasure. Thank you very much. That will definitely go towards the Les Paul Fund. There's something weird with my camera setting. As RGD, the sun just hit your head right, and it looks like you have Abdullah the Butcher headbutt scars. It's weird because I lean back and to where you guys can. Maybe I guess I should just do that, but and all of a sudden, for somehow the lighting, the settings on my camera, except for the auto something or other, is actually functioning properly, and at least what I can see here. You guys can see everything out the window clearly and see me clearly, and everything's, lighting is pretty much the way it should be, but I lean in front of it, and then all of a sudden it starts overexposing it. And so, sorry about that. And also, if you guys didn't notice, I did actually put in the effort and time to, I actually shaved before the live show, and even put on a shirt with a collar for you guys today. So, man, you guys are all contributing to the Les Paul Fund today. Man, I'm touched. You guys, seriously, guys, thank you so much. That means a lot. It really does. Really does, man. I mean, I've been all weekend long so far. Other than when I've been sitting here, I've been reading comments about me on Facebook from people telling me that they think I hate everything, and I don't. Tim O says says Butt Rock. I always called it Theory of a Nippleback. Yeah, Theory of a Dead Man are one of the would be one of the primary bands in that in that genre as well. Archer says, looking for a decent fuzz pedal. Any suggestions? I was looking at MGM London Fuzz as they're made here in the Great White North. Well, you must be new here because I am not a fan of fuzz pedals at all. I typically don't like them. The closest I get, and even then, it's only been recently that I've learned to gain an appreciation for them. I mean, the closest I get are Rat pedals. Rat pedals and Rat clones, and the EHX, the flat iron fuzz that I mentioned a few minutes ago that I made a video with here just this past week. I made a video with that along with this crazy ass thing. This thing's absolutely insane. So, if you're looking for fuzz recommendations, I mean, honestly, I am the wrong guy to ask. To be honest, I've got a few. I've got a couple of Big Muffs, and I've got I've got a Big Muff Deluxe Pi. That thing seems to be. I have a hell of a time getting that thing to cut through a mix, even a recording. Here lately, I cranked the mids all the way up, and I tried using it this past week, and I just couldn't get it to sound. I just couldn't get it to sound good at all. So yeah, I would go check out Stefan's channel, the Pedal Zone. I think is the name of his channel. Go check out the Pedal Zone. That dude, he's real into that kind of stuff. So. Yeah, I know you're just joking. No big deal. Abdullah the Butcher. You got to be a certain age to know who that is. So, me being a diehard wrestling fan, so I do know who that is. Timo says, I'm saving up for Les Paul. Any particular one RGD? I mean, classic standard studio. Honestly, with Les Pauls, it's all about how much you want to spend. So unless there's a specific model like me, in my case, there is a specific model Les Paul that I want that I've always wanted, and that's the Les Paul Custom. Period. End. I don't need a 57 reissue or a 69 whatever that 68 reissue or the crazy $8,000 VOS thing. I don't necessarily need any of that stuff. I know exactly which one it is I need. For you, if you're just looking for a Les Paul and it's about finding the right one that'll fit in your budget, honestly, don't buy a Tribute. That's if there's one I'm going to tell you not to buy, it's going to be the Tribute. Do not buy a Tribute. Because that's literally like the cheapest USA Gibson that there is, just about. And they're not very well made guitars. At least the ones that I've played haven't been. I've not been. The only redeeming value of the Tributes are bragging rights that you own a USA Gibson Les Paul. Studios, on the other hand, though, for which are about $1,500 these days. The studios I think are really good, and I like the studios a lot. Then the next ones in line are you got like the traditional pros, which are the traditional pros and the classics are right about the same price. Those are right around $2,000. And between those two, I would definitely go with the classics. I just like the classics better. The traditional pros, I think they just came out with the traditional Pro 5. And I remember when the first ones of those came out, and I've always been kind of lukewarm on them. But so between those and the classics, I would go with the classics. But if you're willing to spend $2,000, if you can step it up to about, step it up for another $500, $600, $700, then you can get into Les Paul standard territory these days. Les Paul standards are not $3,800 anymore like they were there for a few years when it was just ridiculous. But if you get up into the mid 2000s, $2,000 price range, then you can get into standard territory. And then it's a matter of do you want the 50s or the 60s standards? Do you want the modern version? The moderns are cool. I like those quite a bit, but they've all got different features and different price points, and that's by design. So it's just it's just a matter of which features you want and what's most important to you. If I had the money in my pocket, And right now, and I were just going to go drive down to the guitar shop and buy myself a Les Paul. That wasn't the $5,000 custom that I wanted, but just an under $3,000 Les Paul. I would probably try to find myself a modern standard. Is what I would go for. What the hell is a butt rock? Butt rock is, it's all the bands from that genre that we've been talking about. What's up, Paul? I see you there. It's butt rock is like I said, the Nickelbacks, the Creeds, the Alter Bridges, Theory of a Dead Man. That genre of like hard rock metal stuff from that era. And the name comes from the radio. The radio DJs in between playlists, where they would stop and say nothing but rock, and then you get, the next 20 minutes of Nickelback and Creed and Theory of a Dead Man and that stuff. So somehow, I don't know who came up with it, but eventually that became its own genre called butt rock, which I think is hilarious. Let's see here. Yep. Oh. Give me a minute here, guys. I'm getting a text from the missus that I completely missed. Poor girl. She texted me right as I was in the middle of dealing with my technical difficulties earlier, and I didn't even see it. And she was just texting me to tell me she loves me. So, Doc Amos Roxy says, I kind of miss Fuzz and Outright Bush. I don't think we're talking about the same thing here. Tim O says, you're right. Fuzz pedals are about as useful as an ashtray on a motorbike. And my buddy Paul Baker has joined the soiree down there in the chat. What's up, dude? Paul and I we go back to, we started at Guitar Center. We were hired at the same day, hired at the same time on the same day. My employee number was one digit higher than his. And I got to assume only because that, your last name starts with a B and mine starts with a J. Savannah Guitar says, anyone crank 100 watt to full volume? There's Pete Thorne's got a video where they did that. They cranked it, they found an old Marshall Plexi in a shop somewhere over in Germany, and they dimed everything, and all these YouTube guitar players all took turns plugging into it, and that's a great video. If you want about 10-15 minutes worth of entertainment, watch that video. It's hilarious seeing some of the reactions of some of those guys. Paul Baker says, I just got a Japanese Bernie Les Paul. Oh, you bastard. Those Bernie Les Pauls are awesome, man. Those things kick ass, and you got a custom. So, what did you get the John Sykes model, though? Or did you just get like the white custom or the black custom or one of those? The John Sykes signature was a killer one, too. Those Bernie Les Pauls are great. I've always wanted one of those, too. Jeff Sevens says, Sound City 120 full stack, flat out. My ears rang for days. Yeah, that'll do it. Those Sound City amps were freaking ungodly loud. There's a small shop actually just up the road from here called Center Stage Guitars. Paul knows exactly who it is. Kevin Heffernan. They had a Sound City full stack in there. It's like a 70s. I can't remember exactly what year model it was, but I remember was it Sound City? Actually, it may have been a Park. I can't remember. I think it was a Sound City. But they had a full stack in there, and that thing was ungodly loud. And that's a small, tiny little shop, too. I don't know. I haven't been in there in a while. Maybe they still have it, but I'm getting ready to go out and run some errands for a little bit. If they're still open, I may pop in and say, hey. All right. Well, for those of you that took the time to come hang out today, despite my technical difficulties here in the beginning, thank you very much. I am going to call it a day here because I got to go. Pardon me. I got to go out and run some errands and get some lunch, and apparently I'm going to go stop by Center Stage Guitars and see if they're still open. Hang out with those guys for a bit and say hey. So. Again, thank you all for those of you that contributed to the super chat and PayPal donations and all that stuff. Seriously, that stuff really does go a long way. It really, really does. It means a lot to me. So, Paul Baker said his new Bernie's a black custom with a Floyd even. Russ W. would have said, might as well burn down a church, but man, it's awesome. Interesting. Well, you'll have to bring it over here so we can check it out and do a video on it. Those things are cool. So, all right, guys. Adios. Check out the video tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, I think is when it goes up. And, over and out.